Hello everyone, Timer over here, and welcome to the start of our Santa Inc. Stellaris playthrough. We are once again playing on the new Guin 2.2 patch, and we are also playing with the expansion, the Megacorp expansion. And we are a mega corporation, and we are playing as the Santa Inc. If you're just joining us, if you're curious to know what the Santa Inc. is all about, as well as their backstory, please check out episode 0 of the series, and you can see the setup and everything, and it's rather short. Anywho, let's get to it. So we want to set up a couple things here. We got to get our research going. So if you're not familiar, let's go with research speed, of course. If you're not familiar with some of the changes that were made in either the patch or the expansion, you can check out those notes and everything in the description below. But we will, of course, be looking at a couple things here and there as they, pop up organically, just to get the game here moving. Pop growth speed is going to be important, so we're going to go with that first. I see no reason not to go with the engineering here. There's something to be said about the mining stations, but we'll go with that. There you go. And I must apologize right off the bat in case my voice cracks or I cough or something. And my throat's getting a little scratchy, so I might be getting a little sicker, coming down with a cold. So I do apologize if it, has any issues with the audio, but I'll do my best to keep things moving along. Anywho, all right, so let's get the game. Oh, before we get that going, let me grab my good old sciencey ship, and let's get you doing. All right, so if we look at our start, we got a couple different routes we could go. I'm not a big fan of starting in the sort of the central area here, but hopefully it's not a big deal. I'm gonna go ahead and grab you and just have you sort of do a bit of a circle around for right now. And we are playing with 2 guaranteed habitable worlds nearby, so we'll have hopefully some big worlds coming in. Speaking of big worlds, population doesn't really matter anymore. I'll take a look at that in a second. Construction ship, go ahead, and well, we don't have enough yet, but let's go and get that set up. I'm gonna go with let's get you going. There you go. Perfect. All right, so we can start the game. Go to fast speed. So if you're familiar or you've played Stellaris in the past, you'll notice that quite a lot has changed with the interface. Mainly your bars up here and over here. So your this bar, the contact situation, the more, all that stuff that was in the top left corner over here is now over here in sort of a collapsible menu. Or apparently we can also lock that. Apparently we just lock it closed. Which I guess is something to, if you memorize what all those buttons do. Can I, if I lock it in place... Yeah, I actually like that. We'll go with that. But anyway, you can do that. You can toggle it on or off, and it'll collapse or expand, and so on and so forth. Your resources up at the top... we can do all that. Your resources... let me pause it here. Your resources up at the top have changed. You still have energy. You have minerals, although the minerals have been changed to no longer are no longer needed to build ships and so on and so forth. Instead, you got alloys. Minerals are still used for certain things like building construction and space construction. But their main use now is to convert into other resources. Mainly, they can be converted into consumer goods or alloys. So that's what you're going where. Of course, you got food still, and food is consumed by the populations. And consumer goods are, again, a consumable, and they are consumed by the populations as well. And again, we'll take a look at that as we go. Unity's still here, still sort of the same. Influence as well is still up here. They now combined all the research into one little bit of research here, which you can hover over the mouse and see the actual breakdown. Otherwise, it's just a combined value. Yes, we want to research that. That's fine. And then you have the specialty resources or the rare resources here, which will hopefully have some in our territory. But there are mechanics in to create these out of, I think, minerals, or at least some of them. I think volatile motes I've seen, rare crystals and exotic gases I've seen to be able to create those. Empire size is what we were alluded to in the setup video. So as a corporation and as a couple other things, pacifist and private prospectors, we have an increased administrative cap. So the base one is 30. So if you're playing as anybody else with no modifiers, you're going to get 30. And that's it. And once you go over that cap, you're going to start incurring some costs. Those costs are, higher technology costs, higher administrative costs, all these things that are going to be, just incurred by your empire. This was sort of in the previous game. In fact, like if every system you took, increased the amount of resource or research that you had to do for a specific technology. We talked about that a little bit in our attempt at the One Planet Challenge, which unfortunately got cut short because of this game. But anyway, they sort of expanded upon it, and it kind of makes a little bit more sense. So you have that. So what goes into that? Well, you have your districts, which we'll talk about, as well as your systems and your colonies. All push towards your administrative cap. But as our current setup, as a megacorp, we have a higher administration cap, as well as private prospectors and pacifists. So our ceiling is up to 70 now. But as a megacorp, if we go over that 70, and we will go over it, we do incur a higher cost, 50% increase in those costs. So we want to try to keep below it as much as possible and as long as possible. But we'll have to see how that goes. In addition, just some more stuff here that we'll talk about down the line. It's just empire colonies, which your planets are now known as colonies, and then they change, so to speak, down the line. But we'll get to that eventually. How are you doing, buddy? All right, I should have just postponed that, but oh well. All right, so in addition to the interface here, alien rating, fascinating. We got a couple things. All right, you're done. Go ahead and set that up. All right, so now we got that. Let's look at shipbuilding. So they're harking back to the original shipbuilding formula where everything was built from your space stations, and so they're back to that. So you're no longer building ships like civilian ships on your empire capital or a planet. Instead, you need to build them in a shipyard. So we're going to go ahead and put forth some resources to build a science ship, because I want to get another science ship moving ASAP. So that's that. And as you can see, the alloys go into actually shipbuilding, which I believe I spoke about earlier. All right, so the biggest, most abrupt change that you'll probably notice if you've played this before is the new interface for the planets. So this was a major overhaul. No longer do you have the planet tiles, which you had a one pop on a one tile. And no longer is the planet size directly related to the max population. Your populations can grow 75 plus if you plan it out that way. Excuse me. So that is definitely something different. Districts you have a couple different options. Buildings, of course, you have buildings, but they sort of, you don't actually have to build a building. There's no longer a requirement or like a pressing, oh, I got to get a building up right away or else my people are going to be upset. No, you have a couple of different options. You can put down a building at each of these population gaps. So at 30 pops, you'll unlock another one here. And I think my science ship is done. Give me 1 second. Let me get this guy rolling here. Of course. What are our researchers like here? Wow. I got some really crappy starting researchers. Oh, that sucks. Oh well. Then we'll just take the youngest one, 35. Sounds good. Go with you. And then hit that survey button, and you're going to go this way. And eventually you guys will meet up, and there'll be a party. All right, so back to what I was saying. Districts are part of the planet screen here. And the district, the city district, the first one here, shows the amount of districts that you could build at that moment. It corresponds normally to the planet size. So your planet size dictates the maximum number of districts it can support. However, you have blockers, which reduce that planet size. So right now, we have 3 blockers, and that is kicking our total number of districts from 19 down to 11. So somewhere within these blocks, if we add them up, we should, get to what, 8 total districts being blocked out, which is never good. But again, we have a lot of room before we have to start clearing out these blockers. There's also rare planetary features. Unfortunately, we don't have anything of those, but all they do is just add districts, so to speak. They don't add to the planet size. They just add to the number of generator, mining, or agricultural districts that you could possibly build. So you'll end up with these 3 districts types here. You'll have more spots than you actually do have planet size a lot sometimes. Just means that you're going to have to allocate what available districts you have to those resources. So that's that. But yeah, so city districts, there is such a thing called housing now. So you have your empires can grow as big as they can house people, even more. You may have homeless people if you don't have enough housing, but essentially you just want to keep up with the housing population growth and have enough housing to support that. To get housing, the biggest increase is the city districts. You can build a city district. It gives +5 housing, but it only gives 1 job. If you build one of the other 3 districts, you get 2 housing, but it counts for 2 jobs. So again, you're going to be juggling all this stuff, and we'll take a look at that as we move forward in this series. But essentially, you're going to be taking a look and trying to plan out the best possible way to do that. In addition to building districts, you're going to be building buildings. And as I said, it unlocks every 5 populations up to a max of 75. Again, you can go above 75, but that's the cap of buildings currently. I don't know if they ever plan to add more slots or what, but that is the current cap. Mass extinction. Where is this at? Our first stumbling steps in the void were not motivated solely by curiosity or desire to conquer the unknown, or a need to leave our mark on the galaxy. The biosphere of North Pole has undergone rapid changes in the past few centuries, and prominent scientists warn that North Pole may be faced with beginnings of a mass extinction event, that cyclical purging of life that is inseparable from planetary existence in the greater cosmos. A research plan has been put together to study a number of planets rendered uninhabitable by major astronomical incidents. We hope that oh, right. Alright, so this is mass extinction through the ages. I think it has us researching different planets. We'll take a look at that in a bit. Alright, so buildings do provide some, they don't provide any housing, they provide 2 jobs. And those jobs depend on the building, of course. And what those jobs do depend on, what you're doing. So, for example, an alloy foundry will create 2 metallurgist jobs. And those metallurgists will convert minerals into alloys. So that's how you start alloy production. Excuse me. And so they range along all those lines. Right now, we're going to probably start with an alloy foundry once our new pop comes into play, which we'll look at next here. So down here, you got districts. So again, this shows the number of districts you currently have. Again, we have 11 current availability. This shows the free slots. I'm sorry. This shows how many districts we have. This shows how many we have left, and they add up to 11. Again, it's not quite as high yet because of those blockers. Over here is our resource production for our planet, North Pole. This is our current population, and this is the jobs. So they're even right now, which is good. If we grow, or when we grow, we're going to get an unemployed pop. And unemployment is not great. It starts penalizing, and unemployed people tend to, commit more crimes in Stellaris and so on and so forth. So we want to try to get them we want to try to get them employed quickly. But they don't have to be. You don't have to do it if they stick around as unemployed. That's just gonna increase certain penalties on the planet, so to speak. Over here, you got stability now. That's new, as well as crime. So crime, all pops lend towards crime or increase crime. But working pops are usually happy or busy, so they're less likely to commit them. And unemployed pops will sort of be more of a problem for crime. And there are ways of lowering it between, your governor can lower things right there, and so on and so forth. And there are buildings that you can build to lower that as well. Anomaly, leave B for now, because I really want you to research, or not research, but survey. All right, so if we pop over to the population tab, we can see we are growing. So I'm going to pause it because I want to actually build something for this population growth. So if we look up here, our resources are pretty good right now. So I think what I want to do first is I want to actually build a alloy foundry. So it's going to take a year to build this thing and 400 minerals. But we want to start it. I usually try to start it sort of halfway of the growing period, but we want to start it so that they don't actually pop in there and stay unemployed for a while. So I try to start it before the actual population pops. So let's get that going. All right, so the population screen here shows that we are growing. We're not building any robots, so nothing's appearing here. And no pop is in decline. We can see sort of a ratio of, what pops, what species are on the planet. Right now, it's 100% elf. There are events and things. In my solo game, there are these new caravans that come through your empires and stuff. And in my solo play, the caravan had a party or something and spawned a mixed race pop. So I got a new pop on my planet that was half my starting species and half my the caravan species. And so it created a brand new species. So then in that case, we would have multiple species on this planet, and you would see a breakdown here. It'd be interesting to see if we get that in this playthrough. Down here, you can see the approval rating, or the happiness, current population, migration. Amenities are big as well, so they lend towards making your citizens happy. And being over 0 amenities is preferable, because you do get a modifier to have high amenities as opposed to just amenities. Housing, of course, this is how much housing we have left to fill. And pop assembly capacity. So if we move to making robots, we'll be looking at that a little bit as well. We also got jobs. So if you click on these, there's what is it called? Hierarchy of jobs, or caste system. That's what it is. Caste system here. Oop. We got our first tradition. We have at the lowest, we got the workers. They work things like the mining district, so the generator districts, which generate energy. They do the mining districts, which generate minerals, and they farm, which generates food in the agricultural districts. And we can click on those to see the actual breakdown of what everybody's doing. So we got 4 farmers, 4 miners, and 2 technicians. And in total, they're producing 28 food, 20 energy, and so on and so forth. If we click on one of these guys, we can see that they are, they do cost upkeep. One food, 0.2 consumer goods. And, that's that. So we can get those statistics and everything. If we take a look at the higher up one, the specialists, they take care of things like converting minerals into consumer goods, enforcement, and so on and so forth. Metallurgists, minerals into alloys, and so on and so forth. If we click on one, we can see they have higher upkeep. They still require 1 food, but they require 0.5 consumer goods. So that's something. This mineral upkeep is upkeep technically, but what that goes towards is their actual job. They are using 6 minerals to create 4 alloys. So that's where that number's coming from. See, the researchers, they don't have that because they're just consuming more consumer goods to generate research, and so on and so forth. And then finally, at the top of this the cast, we have the rulers, which basically which generate unity and something else, trade value, I believe. And of course, they have a higher amenity cost in general. So that's that. All right, so we can see that our growth is starting here. And traditions, I think we're going to go with... I usually go with discovery first, just because in the early game, you really want to just get around and survey everything and meet people. And discovery helps a lot with that. So I think we're just going to go with that. But there has been changes to the unity or traditions. Mainly domination was changed a bit. Again, discovery was changed as well, and I think there were some more. They're all pretty good in general. I do like expansion. In my solo game, I started off with expansion, which was funny because I ended up getting boxed in anyway, so kind of useless. All right, you're going to go ahead and build those research stations. That's going to be fine. We got some trade value in the Adegantu system, which is fantastic. Trade value. Well, but we'll probably deal with that next episode. Again, I'm going to try to do overviews rather organically as they come up, as opposed to like regurgitating them right now. Oh, yeah, I really don't want that like that. So there we go. I like that much better, much better. All right. Well, now that my throat is getting a little kinkly, we're going to go ahead, I think, and put a cut in here. Ooh, look at that. We got ourselves unemployed pops. Oh, no. So we got the unemployed pops here. Can we see that? Yeah, you. So if we look at you, crime is generating 1.1 versus 0.7. So rather substantial increase to crime. And they're, of course, not happy either. But luckily, as soon as our alloy foundry comes into play, they will have a job, and so on and so forth. And it is something, pretty interesting to deal with that. Anyway, we are going to go ahead and put a cut in here. I hope you're going to enjoy this series. I definitely think I am. I love this theme. I think it's appropriate, and it works. So, as always, thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you're enjoying this, as always, and encourage you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already for more content. And please give the video a like if you liked it, and we'll see you next time, folks. Bye-bye.